Let's talk about the biggest software category in the world, search. For the past 25 years, Google has had a virtual monopoly in this category. But the recent advancement in AI seems to point towards a new direction where where we can say that search is being disrupted. Like the new OpenAI generative models like ChatGPT has become one of the fastest growing consumer products in the history. And how Microsoft, by redesigning its search engine Bing, has implemented a new chat-based interface for users to interact with the web, picking up a fight with Google in its own territory. So what is going on? Why has Bing become so important all of a sudden? Should Google be worried? And how exactly is search changing? Let's find out. Let's start with understanding the bigger picture. The primary use of a search engine is to act like a bridge between the keywords, phrases, what you're looking for, and then matching it to the billions and billions of websites that exist on the internet. In the late 1990s, there existed various different search engines through which you could navigate the web. But Google quickly won over the market with its better results, simple interface, and very fast search results, and also an innovative business model. At that time, nobody could have predicted how big of a category search would become. But because of its early lead, Google kept on growing bigger and bigger, where eventually in the early 2000s they became the de facto search engine for the internet. And soon enough, products like YouTube, Google Maps, Google Chrome followed, which made their algorithm better and better. All of this resulted in Google capturing more than 85% of all the searches that happen on the internet. And as you can imagine, it has been incredibly profitable for them. They have generated more than $270 billion in net revenue in 2022, with profits exceeding $60 billion, making it one of the 20 most profitable companies in the world. Countless companies have tried and failed to gain a market share over Google, from the likes of Amazon and Microsoft pouring tens of billions of dollars to compete, but none of them have even managed to gain double-digit market share. But all of this appears to be changing for the first time. Like for the first time in the history of Google, there seems to be meaningful competition coming its way. One of the main reasons why nobody was able to compete with Google was because nobody or none of the competitors were able to create a product that was anything different from what Google was providing, which meant almost all of the competitors looked similar to Google and worked also in a similar manner. And as using Google search has always been free, there was simply no reason for users to shift to another search engine. The difference this time around is ChatGPT and other generative models OpenAI has created brings about a completely different way that we can interact with the web, which is not only different from a Google search, but in some ways exponentially better than a Google search. Let me explain. Broadly, we can divide all of the searches in 5 different categories. A navigational based search, which is basically where I'm looking for a specific item like this, or an item specific search where I'm, let's say, looking for whey supplements like this, or trying to find the best price available for that particular supplement like this, or a question answer based search where I'm looking at something like this or this, or a rabbit hole based search where I'm trying to understand a topic and I'm keeping on asking it different questions like this or this. And lastly, everything else, from getting contact details to a navigational search. While search engines such as Google and vertical search platforms like Amazon are exceptional in the first two categories, OpenAI's generative models are proving to be exponentially better in third and fourth category. The new Bing has combined both of these worlds into one, creating an entirely new way that we interact with the web, where you have the ability to find whatever you're looking for, just like any other search engine, but also an ability to have a conversation with the entire web. Earlier, where you had to jump through 10 websites and 20 different searches to find what you were looking for, now you can do the same through a chat window. The best way you would be able to understand what I'm trying to say is by looking at examples. And I'll illustrate this to you by taking two different examples that actually show you the power or the paradigm shift that is happening in search right now. Let's say if we want to find if an IKEA chair will fit in our cardboard or not. If you want to do it via our current search engines, we would do something like this, where first you search for your car's good size, then you search for the size of the desk, and then you calculate it separately, if it would fit or not. Now let's see how it would be fundamentally different when we use the new Bing search experience.
Ask Bing to determine if that new love seat from IKEA is going to fit in the back of my Honda Odyssey. And what you'll see is Bing can actually find the dimensions of the love seat, the interior space of the car, and then make an estimation as to whether it will fit.
What were earlier 3 different steps became one question that you asked the system, and it was able to give you the answer right then and there. And this exactly shows how powerful or how intelligent a new search engine can become. Let's take one more example. Let's say I want to find out what happens to our body when we take drugs. Like how does it react, or what are the effects of it. If we do it via Google search, we have to travel through 10 links and onto tens of different websites where we try to interconnect each and every point in our head for all of it to make sense. Now if we try to do the same thing by using the OpenAI ChatGPT, it becomes much more like a conversation. It's like you're talking to an expert in that field. Instead of browsing through hundreds of different web links, you can keep asking it questions which build upon each other. Maybe you decide to focus on a different tangent, like what happens in a case of overdose. It would understand that you're speaking about coke and then give you a relevant answer. It becomes instantly clear as soon as you use the product for the first time that this is a better way to get to our results. And you remember earlier that we discussed why Google was able to disrupt all the existing search engines when it launched. We are seeing something similar happening right now. Google was able to outcompete everyone by providing a better experience than the existing solution by a magnitude of 10 times, and nobody was able to replicate that until today. For the first time in Google's history, there exists a product which is exponentially better than its search in some areas. Putting it another way, in the 2.5 decades that Google has existed in, it has never seen real competition. Like all the competitors that exist because of a positioning or let's say a distribution advantage. Like DuckDuckGo exists because it was privacy focused, or Bing exists because it is built on the Windows ecosystem. And this is the first time in the 2.5 decades that a real competition or a real company that is better in search as compared to Google has come about. To me, there is no doubt that a chat-based experience will become the default way that we interact with web in some cases. And the company that is going to embrace it will survive, and the company which won't embrace it will die. Which brings us to the reason why it is such a big problem for Google. Even though Google or Alphabet is a conglomerate which is into various different categories, more than 85% of its profit come from ad-based products like Search, AdSense Network and YouTube ads. Google is not a search company. Rather, it is an advertising company. So it is not in its right incentive to actually disrupt its own advertising business. In fact, more than 60% of its advertising revenue comes from Google Search. It is basically running all of its other divisions in losses, from cloud, hardware, G Suite to many more, which you can see by this graph, where the majority of revenue and income is coming from ads. Even though they have hundreds of products, none of them contribute financially in a substantial way. And this is exactly why Google is in a tough spot, because a chat-based experience will affect its core business model. And funnily enough, or like a side note, all the breakthroughs that have been happening in AI in the last 5 years have been because of something that Google invented 5 years back by the advent of transformers. So they were not able to implement it because of the unwillingness for them to adapt or disrupt their own business. Even though a natural language-based chat interaction would be a way better experience for the user, but would lead to direct revenue loss or disruption to Google's existing business model. Google's over-reliance on search-based advertising revenue will mean that if a new chat-based Bing or other competitors able to eat market share away from Google, it would not only reduce Google's revenue, but also result in Google's revenue margins shrinking because of increased competition, as advertisers would have different search engines to choose from. It would also have a second-order effect of putting more pressure on all the other divisions to start making money. With any new technology, instead of the technology evolving according to the business has to evolve according to the technology. And this is exactly what Google has to do. Obviously, I'm not saying that Google is dead or Microsoft has won. But all I'm trying to say is that Google is being tested. And by far the biggest advantage that Google has is its incredible distribution engine. Like the most popular browser is Chrome. The most popular mobile operating system is Android. So Google is present everywhere. So it is not like the search traffic will go one day all of a sudden. Rather, it will be a gradual shift from one platform to another where people will start testing different search engines if Google does not innovate quickly enough. With a chat-based interface, fewer people will need to click on different links, which will both have an impact on click-based revenue and also AdSense revenue Google was earning earlier. It need not necessarily mean a negative impact, but Google has to rethink its business model from ground up and also consider how it will affect its relationship with publishers. What looks certain to me is that search will no longer be a monopoly, and it will meaningfully have a handful of players with sizable market share, creating interesting dynamics that we will observe in the future. Microsoft with its Bing launch has played a masterstroke. It's a win-win scenario for them because if they win, they would capture a bigger search market share, and even if they lose, it doesn't affect their bottom line so much because Bing contributes to a very tiny fraction of how Microsoft makes money. But they would have managed to force Google to disrupt its own search business. And also by making search competitive, Microsoft can force Google to focus on earning money through its cloud division, which Google has been running in losses for its entirety of existence. Or as Satya Nadella puts it,
I just want us to innovate, right? So there's always, we compete today. Today was a day where we brought some more competition to search. We've been at it. Believe me, I've been at it for 20 years and I've been waiting for it. But look, at the end of the day, let's not, they're the 800-pound gorilla on this, which is what they are. And I hope that with our innovation, they will definitely want to come out and show that they can dance. And I want people to know that we made them dance. And I think that'll be a great day.
Artificial intelligence seems to be at an inflection point with more and more advancement happening every day. With the launch of Bing, it also marks the start of search world, where a lot of things would be happening over the next couple of years. Would someone be able to unseat Google from its position of power? Is still not very clear. I hope you like this video. Consider subscribing. I would love to know what do you think is going to be the ripple effects of artificial intelligence and chat-based interfaces. Let me know in the comments below and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.